So, you've probably heard about the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. It's this incredible concept where you save and invest aggressively so that eventually your money works for you and you no longer have to work for money. It's a game changer. But there's a version of this that's been gaining a lot of traction, and that's firing abroad. The idea is simple. Take your nest egg, move to a country with a lower cost of living, and suddenly your money stretches way, way further. Your retirement timeline could get slashed in half. Or you could live a much more luxurious lifestyle on the same budget. It sounds like the ultimate life hack, right? But here's the thing, and this is really important. Moving your entire life to another country isn't just a financial transaction, it's a massive life decision, and honestly, it's not for everyone. I've seen so many people get caught up in the numbers, the cheap rent in Portugal, the affordable street food in Thailand, and they forget to ask the most critical question: is this actually the right life for me? It's easy to look at the spreadsheets and see a perfect plan, but the reality on the ground can be completely different. The dream of sipping coconuts on a beach can quickly turn into a nightmare of visa paperwork, language barriers, and loneliness if you're not prepared. That's why in this video, we're going to break it down, step by step. We're going to go beyond the math and talk about the real, practical, and personal side of retiring early overseas. I want to give you a framework to honestly assess if this path is a genuine fit for your personality, your goals, and what you truly want out of life. We'll cover everything from your core motivations to the nitty-gritty logistics that no one talks about. By the end of this, you'll have a much clearer picture of whether FIRE abroad is your golden ticket to freedom or a potential mistake you'll be glad you avoided. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Alright, first things first, let's get to the absolute core of this. Before you even start Googling best countries for expats, you need to ask yourself one simple question: why do I want to do this? And I mean, you need to be brutally honest with yourself. Is it purely about the numbers? Are you looking at a spreadsheet and thinking, wow, I can retire 5 years earlier if I move to Southeast Asia? Because if that's the only reason, I'm going to put up a little red flag right there. A purely financial motivation is often not strong enough to sustain you through the challenges that will inevitably come up. Moving abroad is hard, and if your only anchor is a budget, you might find yourself drifting. Think deeper. Are you genuinely drawn to the idea of a new culture, a different pace of life, or learning a new language? Is there a sense of adventure that you're trying to fulfill? Maybe you've always dreamed of living in Europe and soaking in the history, or you feel a connection to the community-oriented lifestyles you see in parts of Latin America. These are what I call green flag motivations. They are the things that will keep you going when you're struggling to open a bank account or feeling homesick. It's the difference between running towards a new and exciting life versus simply running away from your current one. Escapism is a powerful, but ultimately hollow, motivator. So take a minute and really reflect on this. Write it down. Are you being pulled by the promise of a richer life experience, or are you being pushed by dissatisfaction with where you are now? There's no right or wrong answer, but understanding your true driver is the foundation for this entire decision. If you're genuinely excited about the adventure, the growth, and the cultural immersion, then you're starting from a place of strength. If you're just trying to escape a job you hate, or a city you find boring, you might find that those problems have a funny way of packing themselves in your suitcase and following you wherever you go. Aligning this huge life change with your deepest values is non-negotiable. Now that we've talked about your why, let's talk about who, specifically who you are. This is where a serious dose of self-awareness comes into play. Not everyone has the right personality for uprooting their life and planting it in foreign soil, and that is completely okay. Being a successful and happy expat often requires a specific set of traits. For instance, you need to be adaptable. Things will not go according to plan. The bureaucracy will be different, social customs will be confusing, and your favorite brand of peanut butter might not exist. If you're the kind of person who gets easily flustered when things don't go your way, you're going to have a very, very tough time. You also need a high tolerance for ambiguity and a certain level of independence. There will be times when you don't understand what's happening, and you'll have to be comfortable with that uncertainty. You'll need to be proactive about solving your own problems, from figuring out how the public transit works to navigating the healthcare system. On the flip side, what if you're someone who thrives on stability and routine? What if your support system, your close friends and family, is the most important thing in your life? Moving thousands of miles away can be incredibly isolating, especially in the beginning. Building a new social network from scratch as an adult is a real challenge, and video calls, as great as they are, don't replace an in-person hug from a loved one. Be honest with yourself here. Are you a natural problem solver who sees challenges as adventures? Or do you find comfort and strength in predictability and a strong local community? If you're an introvert, how will you handle the pressure of constantly having to put yourself out there to make new friends? If you're an extrovert, how will you cope with the initial loneliness before you find your people? Understanding your social and emotional needs is just as important as understanding your financial ones. Acknowledging that you might be happier with a strong in-person network in your home country isn't a failure. It's a sign of self-awareness that can save you a world of heartache. Okay, let's get into the numbers, because this is the part that gets everyone excited. The basic formula for FIRE is pretty simple. You take your estimated annual expenses in retirement and multiply that by 25. This is based on the 4% rule, which suggests you can safely withdraw 4% of your invested portfolio each year without running out of money. So, if you think you can live on $40,000 a year, you need a nest egg of $1 million. Simple, right? Well, when you throw another country into the mix, the math gets a little more complicated. It's not just about finding a place where your $40,000 feels like $80,000. First, you have to get your cost of living estimate right, and I mean really right. Don't just rely on online calculators. You need to dig into the details. What is the actual cost of rent for the type of apartment you want to live in the specific neighborhood you're considering? What about groceries, utilities, and internet? And the big one that everyone underestimates, healthcare. Your home country's insurance plan probably won't cover you, so you'll need to budget for private health insurance or understand the costs within the local system. These are not small details. They can fundamentally change your entire budget. A surprise $5,000 medical bill can throw your whole year's plan out of whack. Then you have to consider factors that don't show up on a simple expense sheet. I'm talking about taxes and currency risk. You might still have tax obligations in your home country, and you'll definitely have to understand the tax laws in your new country. This can get incredibly complex, and you'll likely need to hire professionals in both countries to make sure you're compliant. On top of that, your nest egg is probably in your home currency, like US dollars, but you'll be spending in euros or Thai baht or Mexican pesos. Currency exchange rates fluctuate. A 10% swing in the exchange rate could mean your budget is suddenly 10% tighter. You have to build a buffer into your financial plan to account for these kinds of shocks. The simple multiply by 25 rule is a great starting point, but it's not the finish line. So, you've done the soul searching, you think your personality is a fit, and your spreadsheet is looking beautiful. You're ready to sell everything and buy a one-way ticket, right? Hold on, absolutely not. This is probably the most important piece of practical advice I can give you. You have to try before you commit. I'm not talking about a one-week vacation where you stay in a nice hotel and hit all the tourist spots. That tells you almost nothing about what it's like to actually somewhere. You need to conduct a trial run, and I recommend a minimum of 1 to 3 months. The goal of this trip is to live like a local, not a tourist. This means you rent a normal apartment in a residential neighborhood, not a beachfront resort. You shop at the local grocery store and cook your own meals. You figure out the public transportation system instead of taking taxis everywhere. You try to handle a simple bureaucratic task, like setting up a mobile phone plan or inquiring about a gym membership. This is where the fantasy meets reality. You'll discover the little annoyances and the wonderful conveniences that you would never see on a vacation. Maybe you'll find that the internet is frustratingly slow, or that the noise from the street is way more than you can handle. This trial run is your data gathering phase. It's your chance to test your budget in the real world. Does your estimated monthly spending actually hold up? You can also use this time to test the social waters. Go to expat meetups, try to strike up conversations with locals, and see how it feels. Do you feel like you could build a community here? This test drive might be the best investment you ever make. It could save you from a massive, costly, and emotionally draining mistake. Or it could confirm that you found your paradise, giving you the ultimate confidence to take the final leap. Either way, it's invaluable information that you just can't get from reading blogs or watching vlogs. Alright, let's dive into the stuff that nobody likes to talk about but is absolutely critical. The logistics. This is the mountain of paperwork and practical planning that stands between you and your dream of firing abroad. First and foremost, visas and residency. You can't just decide to live in another country. Every nation has its own rules, and they can be incredibly complex and change without notice. You need to research the specific visa that would apply to you. Is it a retirement visa? A non-lucrative visa? Do you qualify based on your income or your investment portfolio? This process can take months, sometimes even over a year, and often requires a mountain of documents from background checks to financial statements. Next up is your financial life. How are you going to manage your money from another country? You'll need to figure out how to open a local bank account, which can sometimes be a real chicken and egg problem where you need a local address to open an account, but you need an account to rent an apartment. You also need a strategy for transferring money internationally without getting killed by fees and bad exchange rates. Services like Wise or Revolut can be lifesavers here, but you need a plan. And what about managing your investments back home? You need to make sure your brokerage is okay with you living abroad and that you have a reliable way to access your accounts. Finally, think about all the little ties to your home country that you need to manage or sever. What will you do about voting? You might still be able to vote via absentee ballot, but you need to figure out the process. How will you handle your mail? A mail forwarding service is almost essential. And how will you travel back and forth? Budgeting for 1 or 2 trips home per year to see family and friends is a realistic and important part of your financial plan. This logistical puzzle is a huge part of the fire abroad journey. It's not glamorous, but getting it right is the difference between a smooth transition and a bureaucratic nightmare. It requires patience, organization, and a lot of research. We've covered a lot of ground, the why, the who, the how. But let's bring it back to the big picture. The entire point of the FIRE movement is to achieve freedom. But freedom is a very personal and abstract concept. It's crucial that you define what it actually means to. For some people, freedom is simply having more time. It's the freedom from a 9-to-5 schedule, the freedom to wake up without an alarm clock, and the freedom to spend their days pursuing hobbies, learning, or just relaxing. If this is your definition, FIRE abroad can be a powerful accelerator to get you there sooner. For others, freedom means the ability to travel and have new experiences. It's the freedom to explore the world, not just for 2 weeks a year, but as a lifestyle. It's about having a home base in a fascinating part of the world and using it to explore surrounding countries and cultures. This is a very compelling vision of freedom, and moving abroad is obviously a direct path to achieving it. It redefines your relationship with the world, making you a resident rather than a visitor. The freedom to immerse yourself in a new environment is a powerful draw that a traditional retirement might not offer. But it's also important to understand the trade-offs. Achieving one kind of freedom might mean sacrificing another. For example, gaining the freedom to live cheaply in a tropical paradise might mean giving up the freedom of easy access to your family and lifelong friends. Gaining the freedom from your native language and culture might mean losing the freedom of effortless communication and shared cultural understanding. There is no perfect solution, so take the time to really define your ideal version of a free life. Is it about time, travel, lifestyle, or something else entirely? Understanding your personal definition will be your compass, guiding you to decide whether the trade-offs required for FIRE abroad are truly worth it for you. So after all of that, is FIRE abroad right for you? It's a huge decision, and by now you should have a much clearer idea of where you stand. The dream is powerful, but it has to be grounded in reality. It's about creating a life that you are genuinely excited to live every day, not just a life that looks good on a balance sheet. Sometimes the journey of exploring this option reveals that the best path for you is actually closer to home, and that is a massive win. Discovering what you want is just as valuable as discovering what you do. To help you make that final call, let's go through a quick checklist. Ask yourself these questions and be honest. Have you thoroughly researched your target country's culture, costs, and lifestyle? Have you actually visited for an extended period, living like a local? Have you investigated the specific visa, healthcare, and tax requirements that apply to you? Are you comfortable with the language barrier and willing to put in the effort to learn? Have you run the numbers and confirmed you can comfortably live on your FIRE number, with a buffer for surprises? And finally, the most important question: are you running toward this with excitement, or are you just trying to escape? If you can answer yes to most of those questions, then congratulations. The incredible adventure of FIRE abroad might just be the perfect path for you. It's a journey that requires courage, planning, and a deep sense of self-awareness. But the rewards can be a life of freedom and fulfillment beyond your wildest dreams. It's a massive undertaking, but for the right person, it is absolutely worth it. I hope this has given you the clarity you need to take your next step, whatever that may be. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And of course, subscribe for more content on FIRE, travel, and achieving financial freedom. Like and subscribe.